the Trail of Tears wasn't just relocation, it was ethnic cleansing in plain sight. When Americans speak of democracy, they speak of freedom, liberty, and justice. Yet, buried beneath the ideals of the nation lies one of its darkest contradictions. In the very years when the United States was expanding its power, writing laws of liberty, and preaching democracy to the world, it was also uprooting entire nations of people from their homes: the Cherokee, the Creek, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and the Seminole. This was not simply relocation. It was state-sanctioned displacement, a forced march across rivers, mountains, and barren wilderness. A policy that left tens of thousands starving, freezing, and dying. The question remains, how can the nation that called itself the land of the free be the same one that carried out the Trail of Tears? In 1829, Andrew Jackson entered the presidency as a war hero, celebrated for his victory at the Battle of New Orleans. But for Native peoples, Jackson was no hero. He was the architect of their dispossession. In 1830, Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, a law granting the federal government power to exchange native lands east of the Mississippi for lands to the west. Supporters of the law argued that removal was necessary for progress, to free up fertile lands for white settlers and expand cotton plantations. Opponents in Congress, including Davy Crockett, warned that it was immoral, unjust, and unconstitutional. Yet the act passed, setting in motion one of the most brutal episodes in American history. The Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole were known as the Five Civilized Tribes because they had adopted elements of European American culture, farming, literacy, Christianity, and written laws. The Cherokee even had a written constitution and a newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix, printed in both English and their own syllabary, invented by Sequoyah. But assimilation did not protect them. Their land was too valuable. Georgia settlers wanted it, and the discovery of gold in Cherokee territory in 1828 only accelerated demands for removal. The Cherokee fought back, not with weapons at first, but with law. They took their case to the U.S. Supreme Court in Worcester v. Georgia, 1832, where Chief Justice John Marshall ruled in their favor, declaring that the Cherokee were a sovereign nation. But Andrew Jackson famously ignored the ruling. Legend has him saying, "John Marshall has made his decision. Now let him enforce it." And so, law gave way to force. Treaties, often signed under pressure or by minority factions, were used to justify removal. The most infamous was the Treaty of New Echota, 1835, signed by a small group of Cherokees without authorization from their people. This treaty would later condemn thousands to death. In the winter of 1831, the Choctaw became the first to be removed. Soldiers drove them from their homes, forcing them to march hundreds of miles. One Choctaw leader called it a trail of tears and death. The Cherokee removal began in 1838 when General Winfield Scott arrived with 7,000 troops. Soldiers rounded up Cherokee families at gunpoint, herding them into stockades. From there, thousands began the march west. The Trail of Tears had begun. Soldiers and missionaries who witnessed the removal left chilling records. One soldier wrote, "I saw the helpless Cherokees arrested and dragged from their homes and driven at the bayonet point into the stockades, and in the chill of a drizzling rain on an October morning, I saw them loaded like cattle into wagons and started toward the west. Missionary Evan Jones described children clinging to their mothers, elders collapsing from exhaustion, and unburied dead left along the roadside. Numbers that cannot be ignored. 60,000 plus Native Americans were forcibly removed under the Indian Removal Act. Of these, 16,000 or more died from starvation, exposure, and disease. The Cherokee alone lost about 4,000 lives during their march. Entire families vanished. Villages that had stood for centuries were erased. Sacred lands, burial sites, and cultural centers were lost forever. Why was this done? The answer lies in economics. The expansion of cotton farming in the South was fueling America's rise as a global power. Slave labor and fertile native land were the engines of profit, and in Cherokee territory, the discovery of gold near Dahlonega, Georgia, set off America's first gold rush. White miners flooded the land, and the state of Georgia passed laws seizing Cherokee property. The Trail of Tears, in truth, was not about coexistence. It was about land, profit, and power. The Trail of Tears was not just an event, it was a trauma etched into generations. The forced marches broke families, destroyed communities, and left scars that cannot be measured only in numbers. For Native peoples, the memory of being herded, starved, and buried in shallow graves became part of their identity, a story carried down through oral histories and cultural memory. Historians call this historical trauma, the way violence, loss, and injustice echo across centuries. Yet, despite it all, Native nations survived. The Cherokee rebuilt in present-day Oklahoma, creating schools, businesses, and governments. Today, the Cherokee Nation is the largest federally recognized tribe in the United States, with more than 400,000 citizens. What was meant to erase them became a testament to resilience. But the moral paradox remains. How can a nation founded on liberty and justice also have carried out one of the greatest acts of dispossession in history? In the words of Cherokee Principal Chief John Ross, who pleaded with Congress to stop the removal, "We are overwhelmed, our hearts are sickened, our cause is your own, for we are brethren of the same land." Today, the Trail of Tears stands as both a warning and a lesson. If America is to honor its principles, it must confront its past honestly, not by burying it, but by acknowledging it. The Trail of Tears was not just a march. It was a reckoning with the soul of America. A democracy that displaced its first peoples must ask, can liberty exist when it is built on the graves of the innocent? The answer lies not in denial, but in remembrance, not in forgetting, but in facing the truth. Consider subscribing to this channel. It allows us to bring you more research, more truth, and more lessons from the past that deserve to be remembered.